What if I told you that the most powerful kingpin of the digital age wasn't hiding in some underground bunker, surrounded by armed bodyguards, but was sitting in his bathrobe, in a luxury villa, sipping coffee while checking his messages? And that his billion-dollar empire came crashing down because of one small, stupid mistake he made years ago. A mistake so tiny, you or I wouldn't have thought twice about it. This isn't Hollywood. This is real life. The unbelievable story of Alexandre Cazes, the mastermind behind AlphaBay, a dark web empire so massive, it made Silk Road look like a lemonade stand. And it's also the story of how cops from 7 different countries teamed up to catch the uncatchable man, and how his story ended in a Thai jail cell just days later. You're watching Rivo TV, and trust me, this story is wild. It was just another hot, sticky morning in Bangkok. July 5, 2017. Inside a multi-million-dollar villa, a young man was already at work. His laptop was open, screens filled with code and encrypted chats. To his neighbors, he looked like just another rich, quiet tech entrepreneur. They had no clue that this man, right then and there, was running a black market hub moving millions of dollars a day in drugs, weapons, and stolen identities. But he didn't know that the entire world was closing in on him. And then, crash. The sound of twisted metal and breaking glass shattered the calm. It was violent, right outside his front door. A truck had slammed into a car. Chaos. Without thinking, the man bolted from his desk to check it out. But in his rush, he made the one mistake investigators had been praying for: he didn't close his laptop. He didn't log out. He left it wide open, his entire criminal empire laid bare. He thought he was stepping outside to look at an accident. He was actually walking into a trap, years in the making. That moment was the signal. Law enforcement had their chance. The man known only as Alpha-02 was finally exposed. To understand how we got here, we need to rewind. Back in the early 2010s, most of us were using the internet for Facebook, YouTube, maybe some online shopping. But underneath the surface, there was another layer. A hidden side you couldn't just stumble onto with Google. To access it, you needed a special browser called Tor. Tor works like a digital disguise. It bounces your signal across servers around the globe, making you nearly impossible to trace. For cops, it was a nightmare. For criminals, it was paradise. The dark web became the wild west of the internet. You could buy almost anything. Drugs, counterfeit money, hacking tools, even hitmen. It was all there. But the early marketplaces were sloppy. Sites would vanish overnight. Owners would run exit scams, shutting everything down and running off with user money. Nobody trusted anyone. Then came Silk Road. In 2011, Ross Ulbricht, a 26-year-old from Texas, created what looked like Amazon for illegal stuff. It had seller ratings, escrow services, a smooth interface, it was professional. And it blew up. But Ross made mistakes. In 2013, the FBI caught him in a public library in San Francisco, his laptop open and logged in. Silk Road was gone. And you'd think that would have ended it. But nope. The demand was still there. And dozens of new markets popped up overnight: Silk Road 2.0, Evolution, and more. But they all shared the same problem: instability. Users were desperate for something reliable. That's when he appeared. In 2014, AlphaBay launched. Its founder, calling himself Alpha-02, had studied every mistake his competitors made, and fixed them. He banned certain extreme content, not because of morals, but because he didn't want to bring the full fury of law enforcement crashing down right away. But beyond that, anything went. Drugs, stolen data, fake IDs, hacking tools, it was all there. And it was run like a Fortune 500 company. In just a year, AlphaBay wasn't just another market, it was the market. The Walmart of the dark web. By 2017, it had over 300,000 listings, moving millions of dollars daily. And Alpha-02 took a cut of every single transaction. The man was rich. He moved to Thailand, bought luxury villas, filled garages with Lamborghinis and Porsches, and lived like royalty, all under a fake identity. In his mind, he was a ghost. Untouchable. And for years, he was. Meanwhile, investigators across the globe, FBI, DEA, Europol, Canada, Thailand, you name it, were hunting him. But Alpha-02 was a shadow. He never slipped up. He used encryption, cryptocurrency, perfect operational security. It seemed impossible. Until one day, a crack appeared. A DEA agent named Robert Miller got a tip. It was something from AlphaBay's very first days, back in 2014. At that time, when you signed up for the site, you got a welcome email. And for a very brief window, that email came from an address directly tied to Alpha-02. The email? pimp_alex_91@hotmail.com. It was a rookie mistake. Fixed within hours. But on the internet, nothing truly disappears. Someone had saved a copy. Investigators pulled that string. And little by little, the ghost became human. The same email showed up on a French social site under the name Alex. There were old photos from 2008, 2009, smiling, living a normal life. It appeared again on a dating site, listing his hometown, Trois-Rivières, Quebec, Canada. On a programming forum, after a long post, the same user signed off with his real name, Alexandre Cazes. Alpha-02 had a face. A name. A history. He was just 25. A Canadian computer genius, now living large in Bangkok with his wife. But law enforcement needed more. They had to prove he was running AlphaBay in real time. Otherwise, his lawyers could argue someone else used his Wi-Fi, or that he was framed. They needed him caught red-handed. And so, they staged the perfect distraction. That car crash outside his villa wasn't an accident, it was the trap. When Alexander rushed outside, Thai police and DEA agents swarmed in. His laptop was still open. Logged in as Alpha-02. They had everything. Passwords, messages, transaction logs. The smoking gun. They seized millions in crypto, his Lamborghini, his mansions. The empire was over. But halfway across the world, another operation was unfolding that made this takedown even bigger. While the US was closing in on AlphaBay, European authorities secretly hijacked another dark web giant, Hansa Market. Instead of shutting it down, they took it over and kept it running, quietly watching everything. The plan, codenamed Operation Bayonet, was genius. Take down AlphaBay, and panicked users would flock to the only major competitor left, Hansa. Which was now controlled by the police. And it worked. The day AlphaBay went dark, Hansa saw a flood of new signups, over 10,000 a day. Every message, every deal, every password, they were recording it all. It was the single biggest intelligence scoop in dark web history. Then, weeks later, when they had collected enough, they shut Hansa down too. The 1-2 punch devastated the ecosystem. Back in Thailand, Alexandre Cazes was rotting in a Bangkok prison. Facing extradition to the US, he was staring down life in prison without parole. But he never made it to trial. On July 12, 2017, just a week after his arrest, he was found dead in his cell. He had hung himself with a towel. The man who built an empire from the shadows, who lived like a king, was gone. Brought down not by a rival gang, not by some genius hacker, but by one small slip, a forgotten email address from years before. pimp_alex_91@hotmail.com. It's a chilling reminder. In the digital age, your past never disappears. No matter how careful you think you are, no matter how many layers of encryption you hide behind, it only takes one mistake to bring everything crashing down. This was the story of AlphaBay, the fall of its king, and the global operation that changed the dark web forever. You've been watching Rivo TV. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden corners of the digital world, hit like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more unbelievable stories you won't find anywhere else. Because trust me, this is just the beginning.